Hello, everyone. Welcome to Christopher's Entertainment Blog. I'm your host, Chris. Welcome back to another episode for Arrow Season 3, Episode 2, entitled SARA. Um, we see from the first episode for Season 3, we had that terrible, awful cliffhanger that was just so sad to see. It was shocking to see the death of Sarah, and now the aftermath, basically, of that in this episode of Laurel bringing Sarah's body into the cave. She didn't know where to take her, and the whole team seeing her and just in shock. You see Oliver in shock. You see Felicity in shock, and that whole scene was very good scene, and they stuck with that whole thing, the whole tension of that, pretty much the whole episode. I mean, that tension was there in this episode, and you could feel the like, it's so depressing, so just in shock of that, and you see Oliver, how he's trying to cope, in his own way with the death of Sarah. I mean, and he says, I mean, Felicity's like, how can you be so cold? I mean, how are you not grieving? And he says, well, I can't. If I do it, then nobody else is going to be able to. Because he's the one that's got to go out there and continue to be the Arrow. I mean, he cannot just sit around and mope around and grieve, unfortunately. But he can't do that. And we see the effects that it takes on the team. We see Felicity, how she can't really take it, and she basically turns to Ray Palmer, and you see at the end where she says she wants more out of life than just being in the Arrow Cave and potentially seeing all of her friends and loved ones and everything die, and so she's going to work for Ray Palmer, and we'll see how that goes. But such a depressing episode, very good. I really enjoyed it, even though it was very depressing. But we see, Laurel. She was very good in this episode. This is the best she's been in quite a while, personally. I mean, that's how I feel. I mean, this was a very good episode for her, and she was very believable. And you could see the emotion and the hatred in her. How she wanted to get the guy who they thought killed Sarah, and that was LaCroix, Simon LaCroix, who is Komodo, and it turns out it wasn't him. I mean, he's going around, he's killing other politicians or whatnot, and it turns out it wasn't him. It's somebody else, and it was somebody else, because when Sarah turned and seen the assassin or whoever killed her, she said, "What are you doing here?" She knew who the guy or woman or whatever was, and so yeah, she knew who it was, and it wasn't LaCroix, obviously, and I knew that throughout the whole episode. It wasn't this guy. She didn't even know this dude. So, but yeah, I thought LaCroix was a badass. I really did. It was unfortunate, that he had like the ending that he did. He got shot, with the arrow, and that was it. That's all we saw of him. He was, fairly quickly, but he seemed like a very cool character. Hopefully they'll do more with that character and develop that LaCroix Komodo character more, because he seemed like a badass. But we've seen the flashbacks in this episode. We got to finally see Tommy Merlin. Unbelievable. I was kind of shocked. I was like, wow. I knew I heard before that they might have him in this season, but I was happy to see him, and hopefully they'll do more flashbacks with him, or maybe bring him back eventually, maybe with like a Lazarus pit or something. I don't know. It's possible. I mean, we don't know with this show. I mean, anything's possible. But it was great to see him in a flashback, and the whole flashback with the Hong Kong stuff going on seems interesting, very interesting. I still don't know what the guy's name is, the Chinese or Japanese guy that's training Oliver. But we know he's associated with Amanda Waller and whatnot. So he seems like a cool character. We shall see. I mean, I'm sure he's there. He's the one that's going to train Oliver in the ways of being Arrow, and so it should be fascinating to see how they go that route. I so far I think it's pretty cool so far. But yeah, I mean, overall, I mean, I really like the episode. I really like Brandon Routh. I didn't mention that before, but Brandon Routh in the last episode, the first episode, and then this episode, very good. I love Brandon Routh as the character Ray Palmer. He is so smooth, so good. I really like that, like him being cast in this show. I think he's going to bring a lot to this show, and I can't wait to see what more they develop as the time goes on. And I love how he all automatically, just like the snap of his fingers, changed Starling City to Star City. And from what I know, what I read is that that's what's in the comics, and so they're heading that way, more into more of the comics that way. That was cool little tidbit there that they did, naming the city now Star City. So that's cool. But yeah, Brandon Routh is great, so great, and should be interesting how that character develops and his relationship with Felicity. It seems like we're headed more that way, which I like a lot more than her being with Oliver personally. I can't wait to see what more they do that in that aspect of that relationship. We see Diggle, you know, because Sarah was killed, they name their daughter Sarah. So we see that, and we see Diggle. He's back in the fight automatically. It didn't take him very long, but he's back in the fight. Yeah, overall, I enjoyed this episode. It was really good. It was depressing though, but the main thing though is the final scene in the episode. We see that. Thea. We see Thea. She's getting trained by Merlin now, her father, and kind of, cool scene, but not very believable that suddenly this little Thea that's never done anything like this in her life is suddenly taking out these trained samurai. All of a sudden, she's like a warrior, a princess or something. But it only took her 5 months. I mean, it took Sarah like 5 years with the League of Assassins, but it's only taken Thea 5 months to become a trained warrior. I don't know about that. It's kind of like the Roy thing, how he learns so quickly to be so great. It's shooting arrows and fighting and doing all this. But, I mean, if you train every day really hard, maybe. I don't know. It's not the most believable thing, but... I can see that they have to push the story along, but we shall see how they explain it. Maybe they won't. I don't know, but it seems like next episode we're going to get some, explanation of her training and whatnot. But and she, another thing, it's kind of a negative, is that she's a villain, so quickly. I mean, someone that was not really a bad person. She was kind of whiny. But suddenly she's just vengeance, and she's turned into this mean villain that she wants to go kill or something. I don't know. I mean, it's kind of not most a believable thing. She had a lot of terrible things happen to her. A lot of people lied to her. But who knows? I mean, what she's capable of. But it's maybe not the most believable thing. We shall see. I mean, I don't know how they're going to deal with that. Should be interesting though. Yeah, guys. Another solid episode of Arrow, and can't wait for episode 3 already. We're getting in full swing, and there's a lot of great episodes to come. So, but yeah, put in the comments below what you thought of this episode, guys. Can't wait to read your comments, and like and subscribe. Appreciate the support, guys. But that's it for me again this week for Arrow. I'll be back again next week. Make sure you tune in. Appreciate the support. That's it for me, guys. Till next week. See you later, guys. Take it easy.